Hey everybody, welcome to Infinite Perspective. Hey everybody, welcome to Infinite Perspective. My name is Cory Gerard. I'm here in Calgary, Alberta. I'm joined today by Kevin Cain in San Diego, California, and Luis. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's like a bad ship launch in Spanish, so it's Malanche. Malanche.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I
we're
guess
joined
that
we're
works.
joined by Luis in Arizona. Normally we're here. Normally we're here with
Unfortunately.
Dylan Garcia, who's in Phoenix. Dylan had prior obligations and was unable to join us today. So Luis is going to fill in to help us out. Just so everyone knows, if we happen to look away from the camera, it's because we are Skyping with the three of us. So like mine is down here right now. So, okay, first episode of Infinite Perspective, the debut show. We have a great topic, guys. I'm so excited to hear your perspectives about this. Kevin, you and I have kind of already talked about it a little bit,
Yeah.
but we're going to get deep into it. So about 3 weeks ago, by the time this airs, Kevin Pillar of the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, before we get deeper into this, understand that this show is not about baseball today. So if you don't like baseball and you hear baseball, don't turn the show off. It's not about that. Toronto Blue Jays center fielder Kevin Pillar was suspended 2 games by the organization for uttering a homophobic slur at the Atlanta Braves pitcher. So what we want to know today, was the suspension warranted? Was it not harsh enough? Or is society just too fucking sensitive these days? So we've all got our perspective on this, and we've got some outside perspective.
Yeah.
Luis, you went on the road, actually, and got some public's opinion on this as well.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's get right into it. This is a great topic. I love this topic. Also, everybody keep in mind, these are our opinions. Please, we don't want no nasty, scathing reviews of what we're saying. These are our opinions only. Kevin, what are your thoughts, bud?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, should he have said it? No. Now, you and I were talking, it was already 8-3. And, you're just showing up the pitcher like that.
It was 8-3. It was 8-3 in the top of the 8th inning in Game 3 of a 4-game set, which Atlanta had already won 2 games.
Okay.
Well, either way, that's just, you're kind of showing up the pitcher and, in that aspect, he should not have said it. Now, when he swings and misses, they kind of do focus on his mouth. And it looks like he does say the word
Say it. We know it's going to
fag.
come out. Yeah.
No, it
But
looks like he said the word fag.
now
And-
just before we get into that, because I don't want the focus to be pulled away. So the reason Kevin Pillar did it, yeah, he was showing up the pitcher, absolutely. I mean, he shouldn't have said what he said. But the reason his anger came out was because, like I said, they lost the first 2 games of the series against the worst team in baseball. He was, he
No,
got
that's
off to
the
a great.
Padres.
Well, for the Jays don't play the Padres this year, I don't think so. But I mean, if you go back,
Good for
Kevin
them.
Pillar, even though the Jays got off to a horrible start, Pillar got off to a great start, but he was having a horrible series. Now, to top it off, they lost the first 2 games of the series. They were losing 8-3 in the top of the 8th inning. There was 2 outs in the inning, and the Atlanta Brave pitcher quick pitched them. Now, if you know what quick pitching is, great. If you don't have to look it up. It's not a big deal. It's just something to do to catch the batter off balance. But an 8-3 score, it's not something that's necessarily necessary. Wow, I just said necessary there twice. But it's not necessary. He didn't need to do that. So Kevin Pillar was very annoyed that he was quick pitched, and he wasn't ready for the pitch, and he looked stupid swinging at the pitch, and he was more embarrassed than anything else. That's why his anger got to him, and he said what he said. But what are your thoughts on the punishment of it?
Okay.
Well, like I said, he shouldn't have said it, but in this day and age, credit the Blue Jays organization. They're the ones who suspended him, not the league.
Okay.
In this day and age, as I was saying, transgender, homosexuals, they're just more accepted. And so, if this was said 10 years ago, it wouldn't have paid no due. Nothing would have happened, really. He just
Well, what
would have
would have
said it, and
happened?
they would have moved on.
Yeah, what
But
actually would have
now,
happened was there was one more game in this series. What would have happened was the next day Kevin Pillar was going to eat a pitch, but now you can't even do that nowadays.
what did you say?
If there was one more game left in this series, so what would have happened 10, 15, 25 years ago, if Kevin Pillar had said that, there wouldn't have been a suspension, there wouldn't have been any kind of a fine, but we'll get more into that later. But the next day, Kevin Pillar's the leadoff hitter. The first pitch, he would have been eating it. And that was accepted 25 years ago. It's not accepted nowadays. But regardless, I mean, keep going. The suspension, is it warranted?
That's tough to say because, in this day and age, it is more acceptable to be transgender and homosexual. So those are more sensitive words and feelings now when it comes to that word being spouted out, whether it be just during a sports event, while you're just talking to one another, or whether or not you're just liquored up and you're just saying something. It's not right to say anymore. And it shouldn't have been right to say back then either. But now it is a lot more of just a word you just can't say. Just like the N word that should never have been said, but it's like the N word. You just can't say it. And 2-game suspension, I mean, it's baseball. 2 games really isn't that much, but I don't know. I don't think the suspension was warranted because he just said it. He didn't he didn't run up to him. He didn't, that was basically the last part of it. He just said that, but the camera was on him. You could see it. That's why the Blue Jay organization went in and looked at it and investigated, and they said, okay, well, we don't want to have the league come down on us, and we don't want to get all these emails and everything like that because of social media. So they just went ahead and took care of it and wiped it out with just 2 games, which, again, it's not much, but I don't know. I think baseball players are a little bit more sensitive than other professional athletes. That's just my opinion.
No, it is, but we're looking at more of the society. Like for me, it's the society thing because I don't know Kevin. I'm a huge fan of Kevin Pillar, huge fan, but I don't know him. I don't know the Atlanta Braves pitcher, so everything I'm saying right now is a total assumption. Now, again, please don't leave comments. I know people shouldn't assume anything. I don't know Pillar, but I don't think Kevin Pillar is homophobic, and I don't think the Atlanta Braves pitcher is gay. Again, no comments. I don't think he's gay not because he plays sports. It's nothing to do with that. I just don't think he is. So I think it was taken out of context, and people hate this word or this phrase that I'm going to say, but I think it was boys being boys. They're out in the playground. They're playing a very competitive sport. But Kevin Pillar, if he was actually homophobic, and he did know that the pitcher was in fact gay, and he uttered that slur, then yeah, I don't even think 2 games is enough. But I think it was more. It's like he got pissed off and he called somebody a fuckbag. But society's getting so sensitive nowadays that you got to be careful even saying fuckbag because you might offend a bag or somebody who has a fetish for bags.
See, that's the other problem.
So to me, it comes down to context. So anyway, Luis has got something to say. Luis, go ahead.
I personally have a wide collection of bags. And I don't do anything.
But you know what I'm saying? It's getting to the point of society.
That's a bad image, man. Horrible image.
But that's the point where it's getting to with society, and it worries me because I grew up playing competitive sports in the 80s, early 90s to the mid 90s. And like you said, Kevin, this kind of stuff was acceptable back then. It's changed nowadays. And again, with social media and whatnot. But it's getting to the point. I think these athletes, people don't understand when you're playing a competitive sport, whether it's on the ice or whether it's in the field or whether it's on a court, people don't realize just how fast, even baseball, which people find slow, there's so much going on. It's a fast game. But people don't get it until you actually play at a high level to really kind of understand. But what worries me is that these athletes, at some point, it's going to be so bad that they're eventually going to have to resort to 5-year-old playground tactics and call each other poopy heads. You know, that's how bad it's going to get. And then even then, they might offend people who like to take shits. So, you know, at what point is it okay? At what point is it not okay? Luis, chime in here, bud.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anything. I mean, you guys are sounding great. I didn't want to just.
No, chime in anytime.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll. So, last week I actually went out and I was on the field myself, and I ended up going and to Comic-Con. Yeah, Comic-Con. But while I was there, I ended up meeting this guy. He was dressed up as Wolverine, but while I was talking to him, he was actually more familiar with baseball than I was, and he was explaining how, you know, 2 games is hardly anything. 2 games is just kind of a slap on the wrist, and that with his language, he really shouldn't have had just 2 games if he was meaning it offensively towards the pitcher. He didn't actually know about the scenario himself, so he didn't think you know, he could come up with a good judgment. But you know, if it was meant offensively, 2 games is definitely justified, or is not enough. But if it wasn't meant offensively and he meant it out of frustration, then yeah, 2 games is definitely justified, since you know they're going ahead and they're paying attention to what their player is saying. You know, they're taking action
Yeah.
before they're
Now,
taking action. Yes. Oh yeah. But that
can I
way.
jump in here, Cory?
Hang on a second. Let me
Go.
jump in there quick. I got something to
Yeah.
add
Go.
really quick
Go
to
ahead.
that.
No, we're
I'm
good.
actually torn on it. Like, I think on behalf of the Blue Jays organization, it was the right thing to do. Because, I mean, Kevin, you're down in San Diego. I mean, you got the Padres. If you go to New York or if you go to
Unfortunately.
Minnesota, you don't have a lot of Padre fans out there because they have their own teams. I mean, you got some Padre fans in New York, but not a lot. Not a lot in Boston. But in Canada, we only have the one team. So the Toronto Blue Jays are not watched just by the city of Toronto or by the province of Ontario. We're watched all across Canada. So I do understand the Blue Jays organization, where they have to basically say to their players, hey, you know what? You're representing Canada, Canada's team here. You can't be saying what you're doing. So from a public relations aspect of it, then yeah, absolutely, I do agree with the suspension. It's got to be done. I just don't. I think the Blue Jays are adhering to society's needs, which they have to do. There's no doubt about it. They absolutely have to do it. So I do think it was warranted. For me, it's the society thing, that society is just becoming way too sensitive about.
Well,
Go ahead, Kev.
well, another thing too about that is that, you know, when you look at it again, as you were saying, he was quick pitched. He didn't like it. So when he got that last pitch and he swung and missed and looked like an idiot, you know, if I was in that position and everything, and I wasn't liking what was going on for the last 2 minutes, and then he showed me up and made me swing and miss and look like an idiot, then yeah, I'm already getting heated as it's going on. So by the time that it really comes to the point of the head, and then I swing and miss and I look stupid, you know, you just want to say fuck you, you know, you screw you, you know.
Right.
But something just came out of him that was not the right thing to say. But with society, I mean, let's go back to the finals of last year, the NBA Finals. Game 4, LeBron James walked over. He literally put his balls on Draymond Green's head. Draymond Green, and I don't care if you're a guy or anything, you put your balls on my head, it ain't gonna end nice. But he did that, and then he kind of swiped at him. Now, he didn't really hit anything, but then him and LeBron got into a heat because he called him a bitch. Now, apparently that's the worst thing you can call a man, where, okay, I think there's worse things you can call a man. Rapist, just, no, but I mean, there's worse things you can say to somebody. But because LeBron mentioned this in the media, then they went back and looked at it, and then they actually went ahead and suspended him for the swipe. But he wouldn't have said anything. They wouldn't have went back and looked at it if he didn't say anything. So he got offended that he was called a bitch. So again, in society, people do get offended very easily. with social media, it just makes it exponentially more. But, the freedom of speech aspect too goes away.
Because it's boys being boys, right? And that's the thing. Like Kevin goes back to him being quick pitch and looking like a fool. That's the thing that people don't understand with professional athletes. They're not looking like a fool. I mean, I play beer league softball. I play in a non-contact hockey league. Well, I don't anymore, but I did here in Calgary. We're playing in front of 5 people. There's nobody there. These guys are playing in front of 40 to 50,000 people in the stands alone. And millions or hundreds of thousands watching on TV. So they're not embarrassing themselves in front of the 9 guys in the field and the 20 guys in the dugout. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching them do what they're doing. So their embarrassment level, take how we would be embarrassed, multiply that by thousands is what these guys are dealing with. Not to mention the stresses and the frustrations and whatever is building up with their anger. So sure, he could have picked a better word, no doubt about it. But what's a better word? I don't think Kevin Pillar was trying to degrade an entire population of gay people. I don't think he was trying to, single them out and say it's bad to be. He wasn't doing that at all. Sure, he used the word, and it had a very negative connotation to it, but he wasn't trying to bring down an entire, population of gay people. And Luis, you are 100% right. I do think that if it wasn't caught on camera, he doesn't face any suspension at all because it's caught on camera, society sees it. Well, now they have to act on it.
That actually makes me think of if they never actually saw, I understand they zoomed in, but if they never actually saw him say it and all they did was hear him say it, would they have actually, taken any action? If it wasn't for that zoom in on his face, they probably wouldn't have done anything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's the other thing, with society seeing it, and you do have to be more wary, especially if you're a public figure, on society's views and what you're doing in society. And because of that, you have to take on the responsibility of training yourself to use different language. I mean, it's not like when you're a little kid you started off using the F-bomb or anything like that. You learn it and then you end up using it and you sort of practice it until it becomes that go-to word. So there's other things that you could use, that you can train yourself, such as doggy doo-doo smackaroos, or I don't know. Yeah, poopy head. Is always my favorite go-to.
Before we keep going, we do have Tim, Tim was out in San Diego and he went out and got some people's opinions. So let's cut to Tim here really quickly.
We're on the streets here in San Diego, and I want to get your perspective on something.
Okay.
I just found out the other day that Kevin Pillar from the Toronto Blue Jays got suspended 2 games for hurling a homophobic slur at an Atlanta Braves pitcher. Now, what's your feelings about this? Do you think that punishment was warranted, or do you think society is just becoming way too mamby-pamby and sensitive to stuff like this? What do you think? Do you think he should have been suspended those 2 games as a punishment?
I don't think there should have been any suspension or any penalty. I mean, that's baseball. They spit, they do their thing. They're men.
Well, maybe so, because he probably got the poor pitcher all riled up.
Riled up? That's a good answer. I like that. Do you think the pitcher would probably throw a beanball at him next time?
You want to be there to see it?
I would love to see that.
Well, violence isn't the best way to do it, no. Let's not clear the bench for that.
Well, first of all, an athlete has a different role in our society than most people do. An athlete's word out there, regardless of what they're saying, positive or negative in society, they need to be held accountable. Young people look up to them. I think even the adults who adore these top players look up to them. And to start making slurs or whatever, any punishment, be it suspension, fines, or even kicked out of the league, to me is appropriate.
Cool. Now, do you think society in a whole is a little too oversensitive to stuff, or do you think this kind of punishment needs to be handed out to get people to understand that you just can't go saying stuff like that?
Well, society, as far as I'm concerned, is getting too PC anyway. But when you go this way with an athlete, and even though a lot of people say you shouldn't look up to the athlete and put him as an idol or a role model, they still are. But society needs to understand the position that what you say, you need to be held accountable to.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Hey, what do
Say
you think,
goodbye,
Stace?
Stacy.
What about the pie?
Anyway, this is Tim for Infinite Perspectives here on the streets of San Diego. And until next time, ciao.
Welcome back. Thank you, Tim. That was great. Luis, I know you had a couple of people that you interviewed as well. I'll let you talk about them there just as we tie this thing up, if you want. I mean, you don't necessarily have to. I might show them on our Facebook page. So to see Luis's interviews, Luis unfortunately didn't have a microphone at the time, so they were a little bit loud, a little bit windy. If I can clean them up, I'm going to put them on our Facebook page.
You were screaming?
No, people weren't.
No.
Oh yeah, they're screaming. You're at Comic-Con.
Yeah. I was at Comic-Con and I was dressed up as well, not in the videos. I wasn't dressed up as anything, but
Yay, sports.
I was sports.
Okay.
Less is
You're
more.
just making stuff up. Anyway,
I'll stop there.
You can follow us on our Facebook page at Infinite Perspective 2017. You can follow us on Twitter. The Twitter name, we had to cut it down, so at the end of the show, it'll be on our credits, and you can find it in the description below. You can find everything in the description below on how to follow us. So let's tie this up. Kevin, 2 minutes, final thoughts.
Okay.
Well, my final thoughts are this. 2 games, whether it's warranted or not, it happened. And, it's a good thing the Blue Jays took care of it now, because if the video camera caught it and the Blue Jay organization didn't do it, it could have gotten blown way out of proportion, and then the games could have been more. It could have been more severe. So 2 games, at least the people that might have been offended by it saw that there was action taken. So I think that that's why this was wiped away, and it's forgotten. Again, shouldn't have said it, but 2 games, warranted or not, it's really nothing. But at least the Blue Jay organization did something about it and didn't just look at it and like, well, you just said it, you didn't mean it. They understood that there are groups out there that are very offended by that, and so they took action. So I think that all in all, it came out good for both sides.
Yep, very well said. I agree with that. The Blue Jays organization, I think, handled it well. But like I said, to me, it was just they handled it based on society, which I think is too sensitive. Luis, your final thoughts, buddy. 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I guess it just goes back to the people I talked to over at Comic-Con, who they happen to be the opposite of what the people that Tim were talking to, where they're a younger crowd and they, upon hearing what had happened, they believe that the punishment should have been more severe, longer than 2 games, and it just goes to remind us that when you are in the public eye, you are representing people. You have to make sure that the language you use is appropriate, and you have to be more conscientious. Yeah, exactly. Of what's going on and what you're saying.
I have one more quick thought.
Okay.
I have one more quick thought, Cory.
Okay.
Now, when he was suspended to 2 games, now you live up in Canada, so you're a little bit more aware and familiar with the story more than we are. Was he docked also 2-game pay, or was it just the games?
I don't think that was released. At least I didn't see anything about it. I think he just got the 2 games more than I think it was just the 2 games. And I don't think, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if somebody knows, they can write it in the comments. I don't think you get docked pay unless you're suspended by the organization, by the league. I think if you're, I think if you're suspended by your organization, you don't get docked pay. I'm not 100% sure, so if anybody out there does know this answer, leave it in the comments, please, because I'm not 100% sure. I will look it up, though.
Well, because, I mean, if he wasn't docked to pay, or if he had been docked pay as well, then I think that's also, you know, saying to the guy, you shouldn't have said it, but, you know, if you do this again, it's going to be more severe, plus it's coming out of your paycheck. And that kind of makes somebody be like, okay, I'm going to think twice now. So,
yeah, no, I get it. I understand. So, but okay, so that was a great episode, guys. You know, stay tuned. Next Tuesday, we have another great episode coming up.
Oh, yes.
This next topic is going to be absolutely fantastic. It's going to be a lot of fun next week. So please stay tuned. Check back next Tuesday for our brand new episode. That's it. Final thoughts are out, guys.
Right. Bring your floaties.
Yeah. Hey, don't give it away. What are you doing? Bring your and your food coloring. Again, you guys will get it. Oh, very quickly too, there's a video that I might post on our Twitter and our Facebook page. It's about this topic. It's a video I found on Facebook that's gone viral. I'll try to post that up if I can find it. Luis, thank you so much for filling in. We're gonna check in with Dylan, make sure he's ready to go for next week. We might actually make this a 4-person show, Luis, because I think we need that little. That's what we need right there. I'm so full screen in that.
Jazz hands.
He's a dancer, didn't you know?
Oh God, Luis. Okay, everybody, thank you. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next Tuesday.